Over here at SwitchForce, we're very high on Pokemon Let's Go. I've been having a ton of fun with Pikachu, Gabe has been having a ton of fun with Eevee, and overall, we're really excited and have had an awesome time adding this game to our Switch collection. But let's be honest, there are some things that don't work so well, and there are some features and additions that kind of make the experience worse. So today we're talking the 5 biggest things we dislike about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Gabe, I think we got to start with the one that everybody doesn't like, and that's motion controls.
100% agreed, man, oh man. The motion control, when it works, is really cool. Like, it works perfectly fine most of the time, but when that Pokeball goes completely to the right for no reason whatsoever, because my flick of the wrist is exactly the same every single time. I'm like Steph Curry out here, Zach. But this Pokeball, for some reason, sometimes has a life of its own. It just completely goes far left, far right, whatever direction, and it causes you to lose Pokeballs. Luckily, they're so plentiful and they don't cost very much, so you can get them. But it's annoying, and that is the one reason why I feel like the handheld experience in this game is still so superior for me. I played handheld for the handheld video and just to see what it was like. I love playing the game without handheld, and it's one of the biggest bummers that they just refuse to let us use a Pro Controller.
Yeah, that would be so great, because outside of the motion being very finicky, and I've had the same experience, we've seen plenty of people not be so sure on how to achieve an effective throw every time or get that to line up just right, even if you're repeating the same motion over and over again. But it also is weird playing this game docked with one hand and one Joy-Con. It works. They've laid out the buttons very nicely, and I'm impressed that they're able to fit an entire Pokemon RPG onto one, half a controller or the Pokeball Plus. But it still feels a little odd, and I do, as you said, wish we could just play it with the Pro Controller. That would make this, to me, so much better, and I am going to lean more handheld as I continue the journey, because it doesn't have motion, and because I do then get to use the full Switch. It's just weird. I get that they wanted to further this idea of being the trainer and having the motion and incorporating the Pokemon Go elements, but options are always nice, and I feel like it kind of misses the mark for a big portion of the audience when the motion doesn't work all that well, and it's just weird to experience a game with this control scheme.
Honestly, that kind of broke me a little bit at first. I mean, no one is used to playing games with one hand. That's not how we play video games. If you play on PC, you're using both hands. You play on a console with a more traditional stock controller, you're using both hands. Like, I didn't know what to do with my other hand. Sometimes,
it's a little awkward.
Yeah, I do like a little helicopter on top of my head just for no reason whatsoever. At times, I didn't know what to do. And I wish there were more options. There's more buttons on the Joy-Con that are just not utilized. I wish there was a button to just press the map, so I didn't have to go to items and then find the map there. I wish there was just a single button. I mean, stuff like that. It's not perfect, but at least it works with one hand. And now 15 plus hours into the adventure, I'm used to it. I can text you while I'm playing. There's so much I can do.
It is the main multitasking game for Nintendo Switch, but you don't have to do a whole lot of multitasking with your Pokemon, because our second biggest thing we dislike is that there's really not so much need to swap Pokemon because of the Perma XP share. The fact that from the beginning, everything you do is earning XP for your entire party makes it so you don't really need to swap in and out, especially early on. That partner Pokemon just steals the show for so much of the experience, and while it's nice because you are getting levels and seeing frequent evolutions, and then when you do want to swap, your guys are good to go, it kind of dilutes and makes the experience pretty lopsided in terms of only using one or so Pokemon.
And this is, you spoke about diluting the experience. This has made it so I'm not even swapping party members out that difficult. I was blessed enough to find a Pikachu, a Bulbasaur, a Squirtle, a Charmander, all very, early on. And it's very cool to see them evolve. And yes, I want a Charizard and a Blastoise eventually. But there's no need to ever change the party up at this point, because Eevee can handle all the fights for the most part, even stuff that's just class-based, right? Stuff that Eevee is not very effective against, you can still use Eevee, just because for the most part you're going to be so overpowered because you're going to be higher level than a lot of these encounters, especially early on. Like you mentioned, it's a walk in the park. Things do kind of even out towards the 12-hour mark, but at that point you've leveled up enough of the other Pokemon just by having them in your party that you'll be completely fine. I don't like this. I don't like the fact that the XP share is happening consistently for absolutely everything.
Yeah, and you can go and you catch those Pokemon and grab XP, and if you're hunting shinies or anything of that sort, it's going to just give you so much opportunity to level up and up and up. And obviously, with certain battles and certain fights, certain matchups, you are going to need to utilize, like, hey, I need a fire Pokemon, or hey, I need a water Pokemon. But as you mentioned, the fact that they give you moves like Zippy Zap and make Eevee super strong, like, it doesn't allow for, I would say, or doesn't encourage as much creativity with your party selection and with your Pokemon plan and who you put forth. And you can make it up yourself, but it feels like you're forcing it then. And I almost wish that they would not have had XP share and created a more difficult opportunity for you to experience more and more guys. Let's move to number 3, which is that the game is very easy, especially early on. It is kind of a walk in the park, and with one Pokemon, with the XP share, you mentioned this, Gabe, like, it's kind of just, you kind of just glide through until you get double-digit hours in, and even then, still not needing to switch very often, still not needing to be as strategic as you have had to be in past titles.
Yeah, look, I mentioned this during one of the streams, and people agreed with me, even though I didn't think they would. I said, like, hey, has Pokemon ever been hard? And no, it hasn't. It's always been easy, but I guess the level of easiness and you hit the nail on the head when you said it. The level of strategy that would normally go into it is just kind of gone. Mm-hmm. Sure, if you're fighting a Charizard, use a Squirtle if you have one, or another water type Pokemon. Like, yeah, stuff like that makes sense. You're gonna go ahead and do that, but it's not even absolutely necessary. The first 10 hours are incredibly easy, and even now, like, I do not go into a single battle expecting to lose, like, at all.
Right. Oh, it took me hours just to have one Pokemon go down. You can keep guys good for so long, and I know that the goal here was to integrate new players, but I feel like, it's not going to be a momentous shift in difficulty, but you're not really prepping players for what awaits in Gen 8 in 2019, where you are going to need to be far more tactical with your choices, and Pokemon are going to faint, and parties are going to get wiped, and you are going to have to be diligent about matchups and making those smart choices. This doesn't have a whole lot of that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's for better or for worse, I guess. I wonder how many of these changes are going to carry over to the next generation. I don't think it's going to be quite as easy in it, and I think so much of that strategy and customization of the way you're playing and the choice, I think so much of that's going to come back. But yeah, I mean, if you think the game's too easy, you're 100% right. There's like no debating that. It is incredibly easy. There was reviews that said, hey, I didn't like lose my party once, and I mean, I'm 15 plus hours in. I haven't lost my entire party once. I've had one battle that was very, very close, but I was honestly like so unprepared, and I didn't care. Like, I was just doing, like, the matchups like were not in my favor. I didn't care. I was going because I was so trained to just be like, hey, Eevee's strong enough. It can do anything. And, Eevee just happened to get knocked down, and all my other Pokemon just weren't up to par. So I almost lost that battle, but I still came out on top.
Yeah. And that brings us to number 4, which is, to me, the saddest, and that is that co-op kind of just ruins the experience. I was so looking forward to bringing another player into Pokemon for the first time ever, having a cooperative experience throughout the main game. That's madness, and I really wanted to bring my girlfriend along, and she has been a lapsed Pokemon fan, and sort of show off the Switch and show off this new title. If you think the game is easy by yourself, goodness gracious, you then have double the power. And the way that impacts the experience is to a magnitude that's even more than 2 to 1, because now you get 2 attacks and 2 chances to deal damage. Pikachu can handle it by himself without another player, but now you have even more. And yikes, like, it is very cool to run around together. It's very cool that they have a really good way of teleporting the second player to you when you enter a building or a new area. They can go in gyms. They're there the whole way. They can drop in and drop out. That's very seamless. They just get to use your party. A little confusing of how exactly that all works, of which Pokemon they have following them, which Pokemon they get to use. But it's like, very, very obviously that you're kind of like ruining the way that these battles are supposed to play out, because they don't scale. There's no separate section. I wish that they would have just put in a place where, like, hey, this is like a co-op route, and you can go there and battle these really difficult trainers, and they're always going to be 2-on-2s and things of that sort. The way it stands, though, it's making an easy experience almost a bore.
Yeah, I've never even tried the co-op, and I don't think that I will. I have no one to really play it with. I mean, little kids, but then then you run into the problem where they're not going to want to let go of the controller, and I don't want a permanently easier experience on top of the one I'm already having, so that's something I'm going to avoid. But it is a bummer to see that the co-op implementation isn't super great, and that's something I want to see Nintendo step up with, because they've added co-op to some games that don't always make sense. You can control Cappy, and they've had the quote unquote, I don't agree in calling it this, but the girlfriend mode, things like that. I think Nintendo needs to find a better way to implement co-op so it's more fun for everyone.
Honestly, I like the Splatoon 2 style where it's a separate mode and something that feels like it was, organically created for multiple people to enjoy together. At the end of our 30 minutes trying co-op, my girlfriend was like, I just want to play it by myself because I feel like we're both getting the bad end of the stick here. Like, it takes things to a level that's, like, not even really all that fun. It's good to mess around. It's good to just run around and enjoy. And, maybe if you have a brand new gamer, but in 2018, when everyone has cell phones and even babies have played with iPads, I don't know how many people this is serving. I think if you can play Pokemon Go, you probably don't need it this easy. And yeah, I wish co-op would have just been implemented in a way, or a separate section that would allow for more. And maybe there's opportunities later in the game. But even then, it's like, did I really beat Sabrina? Or was it because we had double the Pokemon? Anyways, the fifth and final feature that we want to highlight here as a dislike is that it's pretty repetitive because of the aforementioned four. Pokemon in general, we're not complaining about the formula there. We know what that is. But because you don't need to swap your Pokemon as often, because of the fact that the motion controls are just like toss and toss, because they've removed some of the difficulty, and because co-op itself just becomes a press A to win, you've got even certain moves and your partners that make that loop even faster, it does start to feel at times like it is just a press the button and go through the motions, quite literally, than an adventure that you are wholly invested in.
Yeah. The other Pokemon games don't feel as repetitive just because, you don't see all the Pokemon. Like, right there, like, there's sometimes when I'm walking through grass and I see, like, 5 or 6 Rattata. I'm like, whoa, there's, like, a lot of them. And if you want to, like, grind and level up a little bit, you're going to throw a Pokeball at 5 or 6 Rattata. So it gets a little bit repetitive. And they've combated it a little bit just because the combo that you get for catching the same type of Pokemon over and over does increase the chance of getting a shiny, but that's not enough for me. And since the battles don't require to use any other Pokemon but Eevee, I'm stuck seeing the same 4 moves over and over and over. And, out of the 4 moves, there's only a couple that I really use often. So I've seen, like, tackle from Eevee, like, a million times by this point.
Right, and you can vary it up on your own, but it would be a whole lot better if the game encouraged / required you to do that. And I think, all in all, we really like Pokemon Let's Go, and so this may sound like a downer, like this is not a game to pick up, but we just wanted to highlight the things that we haven't been liking. I still say that it is a fun time, and I still say whether you're a core Pokemon fan, a lapsed Pokemon fan, a nostalgic Pokemon fan, or a Pokemon Go fan, there's fun to be had. And, this is an opportunity to say what we don't like, but I think in general, these do not completely weigh down the experience, and it's still one that I'm glad to have. It's still one I'm glad I bought, and it's still one that I'm going to continue through and see through. It's just these are the things that I think everyone is going to find a little bit frustrating and will make us that much more eager for whatever the team is cooking for fall 2019, and hopefully they take steps to not only improve these things, but improve the entire formula as a whole and give us something that, by contrast, feels difficult and feels strategic and tactical and maybe has really cool co-op. And if it's going to use motion controls, learns from this. It's a chance to really build on these things because this is still a fun time, but I think they can do a whole lot to make Gen 8 the most fun yet, especially since it's on Switch and on a home console.
Yeah, to me, this game is still like a very easy recommendation. I think it's like fully like an 8 out of 10 game. Like, in my opinion, it's still so good. So
it's beautiful. There's nostalgic callbacks, the music, the way that you do get to see the Pokemon on the field. There are plenty of elements that I really love. So yeah, I fully recommend it as well.
Yeah. So yeah, just want to make sure you guys know we still love the game, but there are these things that we wish were a little bit better.
they kind of stink. They actually definitely stink. So let us know what you think of our list. And if there's any other things that have been bugging you in Pokemon Let's Go, make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest from the Switch, from your two favorite Switch owners, me and Gabe. Until next time, everybody, have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. SwitchForce out.